It's only through the strength of the Holy Spirit that I'm able to be sitting here in front of you right now. Every fiber, every core member of my body wants to scream out and shout and grab somebody by the neck and say, you did it, and tear them limb from limb. We're talking about the two most important people in my life are missing right now.
At around 4:21 p.m. on November 13, 2001, Michael Blagg called 911 to tell them his wife Jennifer and daughter Abby were missing. He claimed to have returned home to find a massive bloodstain on the bed and surrounding carpet, and Jennifer's jewelry box lying empty on the floor. The Blaggs were a beloved, highly devout family in Grand Junction, Colorado. However, further investigation revealed that not all was as it seemed. There were cracks in their veneer and signs that Michael Blagg might have something far darker lurking under the surface. Or did he? This is a case with so many twists and turns that investigators and legal experts are still debating it to this day. It calls into question our assumption about who might or might not be a killer, how police catch them, and even the justice system itself. Today, we'll unpack this case to try to understand the chilling case of Jennifer and Abby Blagg. Jennifer Lohman was born on January 8, 1967, to parents Jean and Marilyn. Growing up in Pauls Valley, Oklahoma, it's fair to say that Jennifer loved the South, even though her childhood was far from perfect. Her father died at a very young age, and Jennifer had to make major adjustments when her stepfather, Harold Conway, came into the picture. By all accounts, Jennifer was a happy kid, despite the trauma of losing her dad. She loved music, learning how to play the piano at a young age and taking an interest in sophisticated genres like jazz. Perhaps the central theme of her life, though, was her faith. Jennifer was devoutly Christian, regularly attending and even leading church groups and Bible study sessions at Ardmore High School until she graduated in 1985. However, Jennifer had suffered more trauma than anyone knew. When she was just 12 years old, a family friend that was much older than her started to take an unnatural interest in her. Some reports suggest that she was sexually assaulted by this older man, something that must have taken years for her to recover from. Despite this, she persevered and became the bright young girl everyone knew her as. After graduating from high school, she attended Oklahoma State University for a couple years before moving to San Diego, California, where she completed her bachelor's at National University. A year after she moved to sunny beaches far to the west of her home state, she ran into someone that would change her life forever: Michael Blagg. He was a handsome Navy recruit with no shortage of charisma, and he showed an immense capacity for hard work. They were head over heels for each other from the moment they met. Michael hadn't lost a parent during his childhood, nor had he dealt with unwanted sexual advances at a young age, but he did have his fair share of struggles. His father was an Air Force colonel, which meant that the family had to move around a lot whenever he got transferred to a different air base. As a result, Michael was never really able to put down roots anywhere, but this didn't stop him from working as hard as possible to live the life he wanted. His high school grades were so exceptional that he managed to get into Georgia Tech to study nuclear engineering. During this time, he supported himself by delivering pizzas and eventually enlisting in the Navy. In 1985, Michael, who was about 25 years old at the time, got stationed in the San Diego area. It turned out that he and Jennifer had mutual friends who were dating, and they decided to set the two of them up at a beach party. Michael didn't waste any time before handing over his phone number and asking Jennifer if she'd like to go to the movies with him. Jennifer said yes, and they started going steady pretty much right after that first date. In the summer of 1991, Jennifer graduated from National University with a business degree. A few months later, on November 16th, she and Michael got married. After getting married, Michael and Jennifer moved around a lot. Michael was still in the Navy, and just like his father before him, he had to go wherever he was posted without a second thought. In 1995, the couple had their first and only child, Abby. There's a chance that the birth of his child convinced Michael that it was finally time to settle down. He and Jennifer had lived in Texas, California, Arizona, and South Carolina before finally settling down in Grand Junction, Colorado. Michael managed to get a job as an operations manager at Amtech Industries, and life started to go a lot more slowly for the Blaggs. They became members of the local church community, with Michael teaching a class at Sunday school and serving as a deacon. By 2001, Abby was 6 years old and had started first grade at local Book Cliff Christian School, where Jennifer worked as a teacher's assistant. On the surface, the family was pretty much perfect. They were so pious that they prayed before making any decisions, and even started a new local chapter of their prayer group. Everyone saw the love they had in each other's eyes, and the way they raised their child was widely praised as well. And yet, it's possible that there was more to the Blaggs than met the eye. Michael was known to be controlling, with some saying he even had anger issues. There's also signs that cracks were forming in their otherwise perfect marriage. The move to Colorado had taken its toll, since Jennifer felt isolated in the new environment and missed the people she'd known back in South Carolina. What's more, the home they just weren't able to sell, the home they'd purchased in South Carolina, making it all the more difficult for them to make ends meet. There were also personal issues that only came to light much later. Michael sent an email to Jennifer apologizing for letting the devil take a foothold in his soul. What could this possibly mean? Was Michael stepping out on his wife? Some sources allege that Michael was a hard partier in his youth, and this was a point of contention between him and Jennifer, who never wanted to get involved in the party lifestyle. On top of that, there's reason to believe that he might have been abusive towards Jennifer. In early November 2001, Jennifer visited the offices of a lawyer in town. Some reports indicate that she claimed to have been abused by her husband and potentially wanted a divorce. However, the lawyer wasn't in just then, and according to the receptionist, Jennifer got very upset at this news, stormed out, and never came back. Whether she knew it or not, she was living her final days. By the way, I post true crime and new cases here every day, so if that sounds like your kind of thing, please consider subscribing. It helps a lot. In the days leading up to her disappearance, Jennifer wrote in her journal that she and Michael had fought over something. The matter appeared to be religious in nature, so it might not have had anything to do with their relationship. Even so, the timing alone makes this encounter important to consider, because there are many signs that Jennifer was thinking of leaving Michael, even if we ignore the visit to the lawyer. For one thing, she'd spoken to her friend Eddie Melson about staying with her for a little while. She'd specified that she'd bring Abby, but didn't mention Michael in the conversation. On November 12th, Jennifer was seen bringing Abby back from school. This would be the last time either of them was seen alive. The only source for details about the rest of the day is Michael, who might not be the most reliable witness, all things considered. Based on his account, Abby went to bed at around 7 p.m., and he and Jennifer slept at around 10. We know for certain that Jennifer was alive at 8 p.m. that night because she got a call from a friend asking her to go out to lunch, but beyond that, there's no telling what happened. One rather unsettling thing that happened that day was that Abby's school got a strange call from someone saying that she wouldn't come to school the next day. The caller never identified himself, and his identity remains a mystery to this day. At around 5:30 a.m. on November 13th, just 3 days before he and Jennifer's 10-year wedding anniversary, Michael got out of bed and went to work. Jennifer and Abby were still asleep at the time, since they usually woke up later when it was time to go to school. Michael apparently made a habit of calling Jennifer multiple times over the course of the day to check in with her, and he did so on the day of the incident as well. At around 7 a.m., possibly when he arrived at the office, Michael called home but got the answering machine, which he later said wasn't unusual since Jennifer and Abby were busy getting ready for school at the time. He left a message saying, "Good morning, gorgeous. It's just me calling to see how you and Abby are doing." A few hours later, he called again, leaving another message. "Hey, where are you? Just calling to see how you're doing." The clock struck noon, and Michael left yet another message. "Hello, my beautiful bride. Hope you're having fun. You're out and about doing all kinds of cool and nifty things." And then finally, at around 3 in the afternoon, Michael left this final message. "Man, where are you guys? Hey, I hope everything's okay. I love you. I miss you, and When he got home at 4 p.m., he immediately could tell that something was wrong. The house was a mess, and no matter how much he called out, neither his wife nor his daughter responded. He eventually entered the bedroom to find a gory scene. There was blood everywhere, and his family was nowhere to be found. Panicking and desperate, Michael called 911.
I just got home from work, and there's blood all over the bed, and there's stuff all over the floor. My family's gone. My daughter and my wife aren't here.
Since the culprit is usually a family member in most such cases, police immediately suspected Michael, though he was frustrated about this to no end.
Did you have anything to do with their disappearance?
No, I had nothing to do with their disappearance, and it's strange to me to think that anybody could do anything like what apparently happened.
When police searched the home, they found indications that something was wrong with Michael's version of events. For starters, when investigators searched the family van, they found traces of Jennifer's blood there. This prompted them to get a search warrant and go through Michael's computer. Upon doing so, they found thousands upon thousands of explicit images, as well as evidence that Michael had availed the services of escorts. Despite being a man of faith, Michael clearly had sexual preferences that no wife would have tolerated. It's possible that Jennifer found out about his actions and wanted to leave him, which prompted the apology email from Michael. When he was asked about the images, Michael said that Jennifer was the one who had downloaded them, apparently for educational purposes. But when pressed further, he eventually admitted that he was addicted to sexual imagery, which turned out to be just the tip of the iceberg. Police later received information from a secret escort service in the area stating that Michael regularly came in to get massages from nude women. These dalliances couldn't have remained a secret for long, and Jennifer would have found out sooner or later. And then there were the fingerprints. 55 were found in the home over the course of the investigation, most of which came from either Jennifer or Michael, and 6 of which were small enough that they could have come from Abby. However, in a strange twist, 11 fingerprints turned out to be unidentified. Could these fingerprints belong to the actual culprit? Whether or not they did, police had focused their suspicions on Michael, and they soon found out even more reasons to believe that he'd killed his wife. Over the next few months, police and volunteers combed every inch of the surrounding area. They tried looking in the Colorado River and its banks, only to find no sign of Abby or Jennifer. However, in February of 2002, police discovered that Michael had stolen $500 worth of equipment from his office. When they brought him in to ask him about it, Michael reportedly began sobbing and asked them what the average sentence was for murder, even though the police had never mentioned anything about murder. He then called for a lawyer and left without saying anything else. The next day, Michael was found in his bathtub with slit wrists. He was slowly bleeding out with a Bible, a suicide note, and a picture of Jennifer and Abby next to him. Though he was in critical condition, Michael was taken to a hospital where he managed to recover. Meanwhile, police had to wait out the cold winter months before initiating another search. They'd received a tip earlier in the year claiming that the family's minivan had been at Park Ridge, roughly 10 minutes away from their residence. This prompted police to widen the search area to a 45-mile radius in April, but the 11-day search once again yielded no results. Finally, investigators decided to start searching in the only place left, local landfills. A month went by with no luck. But then, on the 4th of June, they made a grisly discovery. Diggers found what looked like a black and white tent, but as they extracted it, it tore from the side and a rotting leg dropped out of it. This leg belonged to none other than Jennifer Blagg, who'd been buried under a mountain of trash with a bullet still in her head. Forensic analysis revealed that she still had her retainer in. This suggested that she was in bed at the time of her death, since that was the only time she used her retainer. Hours later, Michael Blagg was arrested and charged with murder in the first degree. Though investigators continued to search for Abby, they didn't manage to find her body, and she was presumed dead. In March of 2004, Blagg's trial finally got underway after many months of delay. He was charged with not just murder, but also 2 counts of theft and 1 count of abusing a corpse. Since Abby's body was never found, prosecutors weren't able to charge him with her death. It's for this reason that they took the death penalty off the table as well. During the trial, prosecutors alleged that Blagg had killed his wife because she was thinking of leaving him, likely after finding out about his collection of explicit images and his regular trips to brothels. In their version of events, he staged a robbery after murdering Jennifer to cover his tracks. Michael's defense argued that there was no murder weapon, and that prosecutors were targeting Blagg because they didn't have any other suspects. They also pointed to the fact that there was no real motive for Blagg to kill his wife. In the end, the jury took 12 hours to deliver the verdict.
The verdict forms are in proper form and order, and I will read those which bear the foreperson's signature. As to count one, we, the jury, find the defendant, Michael Blagg, guilty of first-degree murder. Count two, we, the jury, find the defendant, Michael Blagg, guilty of theft, victim, United Services Automobile Association. Count three, we, the jury, find the defendant, Michael Blagg, guilty of theft, victim, Amatec Dixon and Aero Electronics. Count four.
Michael was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, but the story wasn't over yet. His lawyers filed numerous appeals, until finally, in 2004, they discovered that one of the jurors, Marilyn Charlesworth, had lied on her questionnaire. She'd been the victim of domestic abuse, something that she hadn't admitted to, which disqualified her from being a juror on the case. As a result, the conviction was thrown out and a new trial began. This time around, Michael's defense attorneys pointed to the fact that he'd been interrogated and grilled for 10 hours without a lawyer present, and that police seemed convinced from the start that he was the real culprit. The defense also stated that there was a registered sex offender, referred to only as Mr. B. This person was a resident of Montana, and a search warrant had apparently led police to a note that contained a list of victims. Abby was one of the names on the list. It seemed like Blagg had a second chance here, but it just wasn't meant to be. On April 5th, 2018, Blagg was convicted by a second jury on all counts, and his sentence was once again life without parole. Blagg is currently incarcerated at the Colorado Territorial Correctional Facility in Cannon City. His appeal was denied in 2023, and the conviction and sentence were upheld. Even so, many wonder if justice was truly served here. There are many unanswered questions, such as the time of the crime. Jennifer was asleep when she died. Does this mean that Blagg had killed her before heading to work? If so, did he leave all those messages to cover his tracks? And what about Abby? If he wanted Jennifer dead because of his failing marriage, why would he try to kill his own daughter? Finally, there's the question of the mystery fingerprints. Did they come from Mr. B? Was this just a ploy from the defense? And if so, is the real killer of Jennifer and Abby Blagg still walking out there? On the other hand, it's possible that justice was served here. Blagg had a motive, and the jury convicted him based on evidence both times. Either way, Jennifer's family now has to live with the immense loss, and Abby's fate still remains a mystery. So, what do you think of this case? Do you think Michael Blagg actually murdered his wife and child, or was he unfairly convicted in both trials? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you like the way we create these videos and you want to help bring more cases like this to light, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives. Thank you once again for watching.